Sorry guys, I cut myself off there because my mom decided to do the hoovering. And I just could hear her coming down the hall and I was like, no, this isn't happening today. But anyway, so after yoga and stretching, something I do not every day, sorry, I have to crack my hands. Something I do not every day, but depending on if I know that day will include a lot of walking, or I don't know, just a lot of movement, or even like a lot of typing, like typing dynamic movement with my hands or things like that, I will use kinesiology tape to tape my joints. I literally love this. I live by this. The main things I tape are my ankles and my wrists and elbow. My right elbow is pretty loose. It flops around the place all the time. So yeah, a lot of the time I will tape that up if I know I have something to do, or to be honest, if I'm just at home and it's bad. Some days are just very bad. And it's important to note that depending on, for if you're someone who menstruates, depending on where you are in your cycle, that can also depend on how loose your joints are due to progesterone. So some weeks are literally just physically worse than others. So it's not all the same, unfortunately. But yeah, so kinesiology tape is very, very helpful. It also lasts a good while. Like, it does stay on pretty, I would say, for quite a long time. It's not like a plaster in the sense that plasters can fall off. I bulk buy off Amazon, which I don't love supporting Amazon, but yeah, I gotta do it because I find it so hard to find here in Kerry in Ireland, unless I go to a literal physio's, and it's so expensive. So yeah, I use taping. Something else I do, which is probably not surprising, and I would imagine a load of people with general chronic illnesses, not just EDS, do, is I take vitamins. I'm very, very religious about taking vitamins. I am also vegan, plant-based, whatever you want to call it, and have been for 4 years, 4 years, because I found that this was recommended to me to reduce the inflammation in my body. So I said I'd give it a go. Ethically, I wanted to give it a go anyway, so it was convenient, to be honest. So I did, and I do find I have such reduced pain, such reduced specific joint pain. So alongside that, I try to eat a lot of whole foods. Sometimes that doesn't work. Some weeks that doesn't work because you're stressed, you have a few deadlines, or you're literally so fatigued that you don't have the energy to cook a really good meal. And you know, I think we have to give ourselves a pass here and say that's fine. One vitamin I want to talk about specifically, because I do take a multivitamin, I take vitamin D, as we're in Ireland, we don't get any sun. I also take B12 and some B vitamins because I tend to be deficient in those. But I do take, and have found really good, not for so much for the symptoms, like the strong symptoms in EDS of subluxing, but the symptoms of skin tearing and healing, is a vitamin E complex. So the one I take here is a Terra Nova one. I don't know if this is an Irish brand. It probably is. Is it? I have no idea. But I am generally deficient in vitamin E automatically. I have been since I was a baby, apparently. So it's just something that I assume goes alongside my EDS, but I do like to take vitamin E just to up my healing of, you know, cuts, scrapes, like even acne can take a while. Like, I have some mask acne from when we first started using masks, and this isn't even active acne, but it's going to take me months to heal that, just because my skin is so slow. I must have a very slow turnover of cells, so I try to do anything to help that, if that makes sense. So yeah, so that is something I do, is vitamin E. I would recommend vitamin E. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, so talk to your doctor if that makes sense for you, or you think it makes sense. Something else I do is before bed, my neck is one of my key points of pain. This combined, because my neck is very loose, and cracks in and out of place often with EDS, it is obviously stiffer, it is annoying. I also am like typing all the time and, you know, looking down. I'm also a writer, So no matter my posture, and to be fair, sometimes I do just like bring my laptop into bed and write in bed. It's not good, but I do it because I'm like, if I don't do it in bed, it'll never get done. So it's not the best, but my neck does get very stiff. On top of that, then a couple of years ago, I got shingles down the nerves of my neck. So my neck is very sensitive to pain and cold, and my neck's just an unhappy place in my body. So a lot of the time I will use a cream like Deep Heat, or there's a prescription cream called Fastum that I was prescribed by my GP as well for chronic pain. I'll use that not necessarily during the day. I will use it before bed though, just because it can help getting to sleep. My dad is outside trimming the hedges. I can literally hear him. So if you hear that background noise, I am so sorry, but I'm going to keep talking over it because my family is chaotic. But anyway, so what else I use is, these are two very recent additions to my life, and these are both aimed at helping me get to sleep. I've recently done a lot more research into sleep, the importance of sleep, so I'm trying to get a consistent 8 hours at all times. Sorry, I had to just click off a message there, but yeah, so I've found getting to sleep quite hard simply because of pain. So I use two things now that I do find, one has changed my life more than the other. But anyway, first one is this pen. This is called a Pain Gone pen. It's literally called a Pain Gone Plus. Actually, the plus is important because the first pen is quite annoying. So basically what it is it's basically like a TENS machine. So it's got a button up here if you see it. So I would hold this onto a certain point in my neck. You're not meant to use it on your active, like your face, but you can use it on joints. And you hold this for 30 seconds and it sends an electrical current to the nerves to stimulate them. And I find doing that maybe half an hour before bed is quite helpful. And it's handy because you can just do it, you know, watching TV or whatever. It doesn't take anything, and the sensation isn't that uncomfortable. It's just more alarming the first time you use it and you're like, it feels like a needle jab, and then after that you're like, oh, it really doesn't, it's not that big a deal. So I find that really helpful. Sometimes I won't use that, however, if my POTS is bad, which is, I mentioned before, postural orthostatic tachycardia, which is, I have relatively unstable blood pressure. It's pretty like stable now in my life, but it can get quite unstable. So what I find, if on my dizzier days or on my days where my blood pressure is plummeting for no reason, I won't use this pen, just because it can very rarely make you dizzy if you do it on your neck and things, and that just makes things worse, so I won't do it then. Another thing I use is also what changed my life is CBD oil. I'm not trying to like advertise any of these obviously, but this is the Celtic Wind CBD oil. It was just whatever was in my health shop. I don't know, can you see that? But it's very good, and I just use a tiny amount before bed, and I think it does help my muscles to relax and sleep and a bit more. And I find when I take that in combination with a magnesium before bed, my muscles around my spine probably have the most relaxed they've been all day. So another thing I do, which is not really surprising, and I think it's very common, it's often recommended to patients with chronic illness, and that can be like yoga, which is a bit maddening. Even though I do yoga and it is helpful, it doesn't cure anything, is meditations. Now, this is more to do with taking care of my mental well-being than my physical well-being. So my meditations a lot of the time will garner around movement, which is obviously not the typical notion of meditations, which is, you know, sitting still and relaxing. Sometimes for me I'll do them with my eyes closed, doing gentle stretching of my joints, repeating affirmations to myself that I'm taking care of my body, that I'm respecting my body and my EDS, and that my body is in the best hands possible, if that makes sense. So I do find that very helpful, and that is pretty much in every night's situation before bed as well, because sometimes the days can be frustrating because you might get a headache for no bloody reason, or you might, you know, struggle with something that your friends didn't struggle with, and that can be maddening. And you just need to remind yourself that you're doing the best that you can do for you. So yeah, I do recommend meditations. I listen to tracks to relax on Spotify. I sometimes make up my own. Sometimes I can be still depending on how my joints are. Other times it might just be 4 or 5 minutes, not even anything long, but it is important for me to acknowledge how well I take care of myself. And some days meditation is not the correct way for me to do this because of my mindset. So I do have a wellness journal where I would track all the ways in which I take care of myself and treat myself well. And it almost serves as a congratulations for getting through the day, but a reminder for future of things to do. So yeah, I hope that helps. That's basically everything on my list that I could think of. There is probably more things. I do exercise, but I didn't particularly want to include that. I do exercise, I swim, and I do yoga, and sometimes I go on a treadmill, but I won't run. I'll just walk very slowly, just because my hip tends to move a lot. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, found it helpful. Let me know about your own EDS journey down below. I would kind of love to talk to someone else with EDS, to be honest. It's just not talked about in Ireland. And it's very hard to get diagnosed in Ireland, and the process of going to consultants and things like that is honestly just depressing. So yeah, let me know, and I hope you guys have a good week. Feel free to subscribe, and my blog is down below. Everything is down below if you want, and take care. Bye guys, see you.